sponsored by NordVPN. Hi, my name's Tom, and for the past 3 years I've been self-employed, trying to make a living from teaching survival courses, mountain guiding, making crafts, and making YouTube videos. I figured I needed a vehicle that could accommodate this lifestyle, so I bought an old builder's van, and with no prior conversion experience and with a relatively low budget, I turned it into a fully modular, off-grid, work and chill-out base on wheels. In this video, I'll do a rundown on how I designed and made it to suit the multiple uses and discuss some room for improvement. It's a work in progress, but it's a stepping stone towards living the life I want. It's a simple van design for a Scottish survival instructor. So when you think van of a survival instructor, you probably think it's going to be green, it's going to have 4x4 capabilities, basically the ultimate bug out vehicle. This isn't quite that, or at least not there yet. Well, this is more of a budget option, but it still does everything I needed to do for this moment in my career. The van itself is a 2008 Renault Traffic, which is a really popular van in the UK. You really see it everywhere. It's really popular with builders and delivery drivers. One of the reasons why I've kept it white is so it sort of blends in with all that crowd. From a distance it just looks like any other builder's van until you see the deer skull, but that's just to counteract the fairy lights. Anyway, I might paint it green in the future. So why did I pick this model? For no other reason other than my friend was selling it and it was there. Even if I had looked at different models of vans, I probably would have still gone for something of a similar size. This is a nice sort of size that it's pretty easy to drive. It's not that different to driving a car, but you still got plenty of space to sleep in, plenty of space to live in, but you know, it's still keeping costs down. But enough chit chat. Now I'll give you an overview of how I planned, designed and converted this van to suit my needs. So the van had lived most of its past life as a builder's van, so when I purchased it, it was fitted with some manky plywood walls and floor, rubber matting and a metal partition behind the seats, and no windows fitted. I figured the windows was not the best thing to learn through failure. Windows! So it was the only part of the conversion I paid someone else to do. Nice. Now before I did anything else, I spent some time making a 1:100 scale model of the van interior out of cardboard and paper, so I could play around with making the most of the space before doing it for real. For me, the van design needed to follow some criteria. On the one hand, I wanted a well-insulated, comfortable living space with a power supply that I could use as a base while filming and editing videos and teaching small private survival courses. But on the other hand, I wanted the furniture to be easily removable, so I had a big load space that I wasn't too precious about to hump and dump lots of kit when running larger courses and events. Now when it came to budget, I didn't mind spending a bit more on important items so that they actually worked and lasted, but much of the furniture and building materials I used was recycled or natural timber. So with the design in mind, the next thing was to gut it out and clean it all. The floor was rotten and useless, but the walls and rubber matting I kept for future use. Once cleaned, I fitted some inexpensive insulation on the floor and cut and glued a new 12mm hardwood ply floor with 6 coats of floor varnish to give it plenty of protection. When it would come to fit the walls, I knew I didn't want to screw into the metal of the van, so I glued on bits of timber around the edges using a very strong contact adhesive that I could then use as a framework to screw in the walls and stove. To insulate the cavities of the walls, I used a very inexpensive recycled polyester specifically designed for vans. This was then completely covered with the same reflective bubble wrap like insulation I used for the floors. I then refitted the original plywood walls as they were already cut to size, and I painted them white to cover up all the old scratches and to brighten up the interior of the van. Before fitting the roof, I decided to fit a small wood burning stove, which was the part I was most excited and apprehensive about. Now I went for a wood burner as a heat source for the van for a few reasons. Firstly, it's really simple. Fuel is easy to find in an off-grid situation. It doesn't produce any condensation within the van. It gives a nice cozy vibe and I work with fires all the time as part of my job anyway, so I actually felt more comfortable with this compared to gas or diesel heaters, but I knew I wanted to take all the safety precautions I could. The stove itself is a Cyclops Mini made by Glastonbury Stoves, and I made a metal covered plinth for it to sit and be bolted onto. After aligning the chimney and cutting a hole in the roof, I made some aluminium heat reflector shields with 1-inch spacers to stop too much heat being transferred to their surrounding walls. I also used a double-walled flue adapter to go through the roof so heat wasn't transferred there either. I fitted a silicone cowl on the roof and waterproofed with heatproof silicone. Completed with a metal rain cap, which can be removed when not in use and replaced with a watertight cap made from an old sweets tin, which creates less air drag when I'm driving down the motorway, and all is secured with clips for extra peace of mind and security. I fitted a carbon monoxide alarm within the van, and I always crack the windows open down a little bit before burning to allow plenty of ventilation. I did a number of test burns, and using a laser gun thermometer, I thoroughly tested everywhere in the setup to make sure it was safe. Later I fitted a removable fire guard in front of it to encase the stove and to stop any bedding or other things from touching it. There are also 2 fire extinguishers fitted within the van. I then insulated the roof with the same insulation as the walls and fitted a 5mm hardwood ply roof and lined the edges with some old bamboo garden fencing I found. I rigged up some blackout curtains, and the back door ones I made them insulated using the leftovers of the reflective insulation I used for the interior of the van. The bed is an interlocking slat design that I got from a YouTube video linked here. However, I changed the design a little bit so it was a bit more modular. When all pushed together, it is a 50cm wide bench, giving plenty of floor space to access the storage, as well as space for doing push-ups and stretches, which was important to me if I was stuck in here for a while during bad weather. However, the bed can be pulled out into 3 individual sections. The first one by itself to make a sofa, while giving walking space to the rest of the van. The other smaller sections can individually be pulled out to make seats to access the sink and work area, or pulled out altogether to make a larger bed space. The final thing I made was a work and storage countertop with an integrated sink. Now this was made almost entirely out of scrap, natural and leftover timber I had. I made the back frame from 50x50mm timber and the front frame with natural timber legs of hazel and birch. Now, although natural wood is a bit more difficult to work with, I really like the look of it and thought it would bring a nice forest nature feel within the van. The plan was to make a very simple shelving unit that boxes could slide into. The countertop was made from the 12mm ply leftovers I had from fitting the flooring, and the shelves themselves were made from the offcut slats from when I was making the bed, which just so happened to fit perfectly without any more cutting to size needed. I bought a cheap 30cm diameter sink off eBay and rigged up a really simple foot pump system using 2 15-litre jerry cans, one for clean water, the other for sink runoff. I figured the foot pump option was a bit more simple and saves more water compared to the common 12-volt electric pumps you get. I designed it so the jerry cans can easily be removed for responsible disposal of the wastewater, and the clean water can either be refilled from any available main supply or refilled using my Lifesaver jerry can from a natural water source. Now this is a great bit of kit that I can fill from any nearby loch or stream, pressurize it, and it forces the water through a large ceramic and activated carbon filter, removing contaminants, making it safe to drink. All storage spaces in the countertop and bed are secured using a simple hook and bungee cord system. Now I did think about fitting a gas hob, but to follow safety regulations it would need to be a permanently fixed airtight unit with a vent hole going through the floor of the van, which wouldn't work for my multifunctional use of the vehicle. So seeing as I'm usually carrying camping stoves in my pack anyway, for the time being I'm just cooking on them using a slate as a heat protector for the countertop. Now when not in use or when I want to light the wood stove, the gas canisters can be stored in a fully airtight ammo cans that you can buy cheap online, and this will stop any gas from leaking. The ammo cans are also great bits of kit, and you can fit locks in them for storing valuables. I can also cook on top of the wood stove, it just takes a while to heat up. So since the van was a builder's van before, it came with a number of 8mm bolt tie-off points. Now I utilise these for securely bolting in the furniture with the idea that they can still be easily removed again when I want an empty van. Now for a power supply, I'm using an all-powers portable power bank, and I made a little wooden housing for it to sit in for easy access within the van. This little pack comes with both an AC and DC outputs, and so far gives me all that I need to recharge my laptop, phone and camera batteries. I can recharge while I'm driving by plugging it into the van's cigarette lighter, or plug it into a foldable solar panel for an off-grid solution, or simply recharge it via the mains if you get a chance. Like most people these days, I do a lot of my work online, answering emails, sharing files, social media, website updates, and on the road I can just plug it into the power bank, work on my countertop and either sign into public Wi-Fi or use my phone as a hotspot. But there's a few security risks in doing this, and this is where NordVPN comes in as a really handy tool. Basically how it works is it routes all your internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel via one of the remote servers, thereby hiding your IP address and encrypting all your incoming and outgoing data, stopping hackers from stealing your data and passwords, as well as hiding your location and work from any surveillance. Just choose from one of their hundreds of servers from all around the world and use the internet safely and anonymously. It also means you can watch Netflix shows or access media outlets or websites that might not be available in your country. So basically it's like a secure passport to the internet without borders, and one subscription can be used on up to 6 devices. So just go to nordvpn.com/fandabidozi or click the link below for a 2-year plan plus 4 months for free, as well as a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can work on the road with no worries and freedom. Now when it comes to lighting, I basically opted for 2 rechargeable LED lights. One for the interior with a remote control with different brightness settings, and another bright one with a strong magnet I can stick either in the entrance or to light up my stove area, which gives me tons of options on where I want my lights. Finally, no chill out space would be complete without some fairy lights, which plug into the power bank via USB. Now any outdoor person will stress the importance of dry socks, so something that was important to me was some drying wires fitted above the stove. A few other things, places to hang things, and the chill zone was complete. And since it's such a small, well insulated space, I find that all I really need to put in the stove is about 6 bits of kindling and a couple of hardwood logs, and that is enough to heat the van for a whole evening and night. So, welcome to the van in pretty much its finished state. Now, I've designed it to be very modular, so its exact setup will depend on what I'm using it for. It's currently set up for a week-long filming and teaching expedition, so let me give you a quick rundown of how I've set it up for that purpose. Now, first of all, I've made this really basic tarp awning backport system. It's basically 2 bits of wood, some bungee cords and an old tarp. And this crossbeam, I've cut some notches on it that stick into the door and wedge the doors open so they don't get blown closed. And this gives me plenty of rain cover in this back area of the van to access all my equipment. Now I'm used to living and working out of backpacks, so I wanted the van to facilitate this. So as soon as you open the doors, I've got a couple of carabinas with some paracord in it where I can hang my sort of day bags. Here I've got a 10-litre day bag that I use all the time. I've also got a little entrenching tool for digging latrines. On this side is my teaching day bag. In there I've got everything I need to teach a whole day's bushcraft course. And then right at the entrance of the van, at the end of my bed, is my main overnight bag. And then there's got all my clothes, everything I need, so I can still live out of it when I'm in the van, but then if I need to, go away from the van on an overnight trip, all I can do is unclip that and I've got everything I need for an overnighter in there. Also a bit of a happy accident, I figured out that there's a gap that runs down the entire length of the top of my bed, and it's perfect for storing staffs or various walking sticks. So that's my favourite Rowan staff that you've probably seen lots of my videos. This is my rattan staff. It's a bit lighter, bit easier to train with. Also got a longer tarp pole in case I want to rig up a bigger shelter up on my van. And also I've got a steel tripod that I can use to cook over a fire. Also easy access to the back of the van. I've got all the footwear I might need, all my outdoor shoes stashed here at the bottom of the bed. The storage on this side of the van, inside the countertop, is basically all my personal belongings, all my own food, cleaning equipment, clothing and personal items. But the storage under the bed is mainly everything I need to run a survival course. So here I've got my Lifesaver jerry can that fits nicely underneath the bed, so I can just grab this, take it down to a base camp and utilise any stream or loch, and because it's got such a good filter, it's going to make that water safe to drink. Come to the side of the van and I've got two storage boxes. Now, these are old apple crates you can buy really cheap on eBay, and they just so happen to fit perfectly underneath my bed. Currently this box I've got full of basically a camp kit, everything that I would need at a base camp. So I can just grab this and carry it to my base camp location and I've got everything I need good to go. And in this box I've got firewood, all pre-cut, pre-seasoned and the right size for my small wood stove. So I can just take this out, chop everything I need, split what I need, put it underneath the bed, and I can access the wood from the other side of the bed straight into the wood stove. So what about possible improvements and things to work on? Well, I know people are going to ask me about the toilet and shower situation. Now in Scotland, especially in really touristy areas, there is a bit of a problem with human waste. Now when I'm filming and teaching courses, I'm usually well away from really busy touristy areas, so I feel like I'm not really contributing to that problem. Usually when we're teaching courses, we've got permission from the landowner and we dig a big group latrine that we then, cover over when everyone's finished and leave no trace. So that's how I've been operating mainly so far. Now if I find myself having to be a bit more self-contained, then I'll probably go down the route of a sort of composting toilet, basically a sealed bucket full of sawdust for emergencies when there isn't a public toilet available. Now for showers, so far I'm totally fine just swimming in streams and lochs. I think the cold water is good for you, and I've got a nice warm stove to warm up afterwards. I never put any chemical soaps in the water. I tend to use just wild plants, things like bog myrtle, young birch leaves, young horse chestnut leaves and star moss. Those are all great natural soaps. Main thing I need to improve is this bed. When it's pulled out, there's plenty of space for one person. For two people, it's a bit tight. So if I'm doing any longer trips with my partner, I think I'm going to need to make the bed just a little bit wider would be good enough. Also, this foam mattress is ancient. It does the job, but it's not particularly comfy. And finally, the roof rack that came with the van, it's a wee bit rusty, could do with some TLC, and that's a whole kind of storage space that I haven't utilised yet. I want to get one of those kind of pipe holders that you see in builders' vans that I can store all my longbows and staffs in. So that's also something to think of. Finally, the colour, as I said, I quite like the white because it just blends in with all the other vans that you see around, but when I parked up in the forest for a while, the white does kind of annoy me. I wish it was a natural colour so it would sort of blend into the forest more. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Please check out that NordVPN deal. Help the sponsor, help me, and it is a great tool for, if you're working on the road like I am. Thanks so much to all my Patreons. You guys are awesome. I can't say how much I appreciate you guys. You can become a Patreon there. I do monthly behind the scenes videos. Just donate what you want basically, and if you look back at my past videos, you'll see the behind the scenes of me making this van. Thanks again, folks. Really do appreciate your views. Thanks for everything, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Cheers. I'm fine. Don't worry about it.